Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Texture Pop Podcast, in which we will be discussing Game of the Year and not Game of the Year games.
Yeah.
So,
we do awards.
In lieu of our normal thing where we read emails and then talk about each other's weeks, and
instead of talking about video games, we're going to talk about video games in a structured manner.
Yes. So instead of our normal stuff, we're just going to get right into it with some categories we have for games.
Do you want to introduce us first?
No. No, Brandon, I don't. That's Brandon. The asshole.
Hi. We are sponsored by Far Cry 4 Season Pass, but not actually.
No, we're actually sponsored by the Shadow Mordor Season Pass.
So go buy that, except don't buy it, because fuck Ubisoft.
And of course, Chris Taco Bellacharia.
That's going to be like an unfortunate nickname.
You'll find out what we mean when you go to the bathroom later tonight.
Live
Already
tweeting.
did.
Hey man, you gotta use that Charmin hashtag. Tweet from the seat.
Oh man. Oh, why would they do that?
I don't know. It's weird.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, let's talk about games.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, real quick, let's just get some quick opinions. What do you guys think about 2014 as far as a year for games?
Kind of mediocre.
I'd say messy. It's just been a lot of launches just kind of being more and more botched, and just more of it's just coming to light now, and more and more people are starting to see like shit that we've kind of been dealing with, but now it's just been happening on a more frequent scale of like, oh, we got to patch this like a week after it launched, and like the game won't be fixed until like a month later. Just
the day one patches has gotten really out of hand.
And until the last half of this year, a lot of the games that came out were really disappointing, just generally across the board.
Yeah, they were average at best, and they were, now that I think about it, there were a lot of disappointing games. So, I would say kind of not great, but I don't think it's as bad as some people have made it out to be. You know, like on Twitter, people are like, it's like one of the worst years for gaming.
Well, yeah,
like, no,
I mean,
we've seen
it was kind of mediocre, but not bad.
The indie scene has still showed a lot of really, really good stuff. Like, I don't, kind of too many to think of actually, but you know, there's been a lot of really good stuff here and there. Some surprises, some things that kind of came out of left field, some stuff that genuinely got hyped for, and the hype was delivered upon.
Yeah, I think that this has definitely also been a year for small games, like you said. Like between Valiant Hearts, Child of Light, Transistor, a bunch of the itch.io games I played, like Glitch Hikers. Like, it seems like the small games that were willing to do a lot of weird stuff were a lot more interesting than the AAA things this year. So, just a quick disclaimer, Garrett cannot join us because he is very, very sick.
Yep.
And we do have, give us a list of nominees so we can mention them as we go on.
And, real quick, just so you guys know, the way that we're doing this is instead of all of us picking our thing and then arguing for 30 minutes at a time over one winner, because most of us didn't play all the same games, it's going to come down to everybody will have a single choice for each category we have, along with
only my choice will be correct. Your own will be wrong.
Along with
and I thought I was egotistical.
Yes. We will have a one choice, and if we'd like to, then you can also add some extra nominations. Just say, hey, I thought this was interesting too. But one ultimate choice, and then instead of arguing about it, we'll just each have our own choices, and that'll be it. So with that in mind, I think we should go on and get to the first one. First category is Best Presentation. Presentation in this case meaning both technical graphics, artistic design, soundtrack, and just the way that everything comes together. Just most appealing to the senses. So, what do you guys think?
Can I start off?
Sure.
My nominee is this is probably going to surprise nobody. Transistor.
Yeah, I can see that.
That is a freaking beautiful game. And if anyone dares tell me the soundtrack is bad, you're wrong. You're wrong if you can go fuck yourself.
I bought the soundtrack for that game.
That is one of the best soundtracks.
It's Ashley Barnett, right? Isn't that her name?
Ashley Barrett and Daniel Korb.
Yes.
Yeah, and they performed also on Supergiant's last game.
Oh my God, I could listen to that soundtrack I could listen to that soundtrack for days. That and the Bastion soundtrack, but Bastion didn't come out this year, so I can't nominate it.
I mean, Ashley Berry, she is incredibly talented as a vocal artist.
Yep.
Oh my god,
There
yes.
was great acting, great visual design, very unique art style. Soundtrack was amazing. It's a good nomination. What do you think, Chris? Best presentation.
Oh man, well, as much as I've been talking about it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Fucking Mario Kart 8, I thought really had some stellar presentation. And to hear me out on this,
No.
I think it's a very valid decision. That art style is fucking amazing.
I just think
Yeah.
it's not really that surprising coming from you.
Yes. Mr. Mario Kart himself.
That's why I'm laughing. Not because it's a bad decision, it's a great decision.
Because
I mean,
it's you.
I mean, like, you know, Wii U games. This is the first time like Nintendo's restarted. I mean, Nintendo games on the original Wii looked great, but Wii U looked really great with high definition and everything. Like I remember playing it for the first time and just being fucking blown away by, you know, how stylistic everything is in a Mario game, as well as just how good it all looks. Like playing as Bowser and then going underwater with him and then coming out of the water and like just seeing like it's still on his shell, as well as like just all the intricate details on his shell. You can see like all the ridges and stuff like that. It blew my mind how good that looked. And the soundtrack and the soundtrack, especially for the tracks, like it really is distinct from other Mario Kart games. Like that's something I think Nintendo has done a really good job of, is that the Mario Kart games have something that separates all of them, even from like musical cues and the like, where you could kind of identify, like even playing through some of the retro tracks in this game, where you're playing a track from another Mario Kart game, you could tell like, oh yeah, that's kind of how the musical theme was in that GameCube game, or this is how it was in the DS, and now this is how it is on Mario Kart 8 and the Wii U, where the soundtrack is very jazz inspired with like a lot of saxophone in just about every track, and it sounds really, really good when they do it. Oh man, what else was I gonna say? Fuck. I don't know. I mean, it's a really good. Yeah, it looks really beautiful. The soundtrack is really good. I love what they do with the. Oh yeah, speaking of musical cues, like one stage in particular. Well, it's not one of my favorite tracks. I do love it from like a musical standpoint of Shy Guy Mines, I think it's called.
Fucking Shy Guy's the best character.
Yeah. Where it's like there are parts where you're driving by, like driving through like a mountain, and there's Shy Guys mining for stuff, and there will be sections where you'll pass through Shy Guys just kind of there, and they're just kind of making this along with the music.
Oh, they're like the Willy Wonka things.
Yeah. Like, and even on like the final lap when the music picks up, they still like they keep up with it.
Oh,
and
that's cute.
It's just it's great how well it goes together. Like, so yeah, that's basically my pick for best presentation.
I think you made a very good case for that.
That's great. Now I've got to listen to the transition soundtrack one more time. I'll be right back.
So, my personal pick, which might surprise you guys a little bit, would be The Wolf Among Us, which we're qualifying for this year because 4/5 of the game came out this year.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It uses the comic book art style that The Walking Dead did, but it goes for much harsher blacks and more neon colors, which I really like.
Yeah. It feels a lot more like a comic book than The Walking Dead does.
And it
Like
suits
that-
it much better considering it came from a comic book. Well, Walking Dead did as well.
Like the intro to that game is really good.
Yes.
Like I could look at that
Yeah.
forever.
And I don't know the title of it, I haven't looked it up, but sort of the main theme that the game has that plays
Yeah,
through a lot of
another one.
conversations is incredible to me. Great music. I love the voice acting for everybody. I absolutely love the art style. The animation is kind of a bummer, which is the only real detriment to it. But just the art style is just killer. I love it. I love looking at that game all the time. So,
Yeah.
I don't think I can say much more about that. There's really not much to it beyond just...
I
there's
mean, it's kind of self-explanatory how that's
it's
a
a
good
comic book
choice.
come to life. Like, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, like, I mean, you can kind of say that, and you can understand instinctively why that's a good pick.
Yeah. Alright.
So Garrett, his choice for best presentation, he went with Watch Dogs, and I can kind of see why he went with that. I mean, if anything, you know, we have talked a good amount of shit about Watch Dogs.
I actually liked Watch Dogs. I have a lot of criticism for it, but I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've held on to my copy for a good reason. Like, I actually do plan to go back to it at some point.
Yeah. I gotta play that DLC.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Watch Dogs, I can kind of see where he's coming from with that. I mean, it does have, you know, something of a unique style to it.
It's a looker. It's mostly technical wise, but I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's anything that Ubisoft does do well, it's the look.
Yeah.
I
mean,
on a very technical level, they are quite well. And some games they have a good artistic vision, like Ubi Art.
Yeah, and the stuff with, like, you know, seeing, like, all of the, like, digital wireframe stuff that comes up often when you're hacking stuff or when stuff is being brought to your attention.
That is
that
nice.
you can't hack.
I wish they use that more, but it's a very cool effect to watch.
Yeah. So I can totally understand why he would go with good presentation on that. So
okay. Next category is best character of the year. So
do you want to go in the same order?
Sure. You just want to keep going this order the whole way around? I think I'll make it easy. All right. So Brandon, go ahead.
My pick for best character of the year is Shay Patrick Cormac from Assassin's Creed Rogue.
Ooh.
And the reason I pick him, because he is a good character in and of himself, but it's mostly because he represents a very interesting perspective in the Assassin's Creed franchise, being an assassin who decided to quit and join the Templar Order instead. That, to me, is much more interesting than any of the previous characters. Like, Connor's story wasn't that interesting. Ezio's, there's interesting things there, but generally he's just another assassin in a long line of assassins. Altair is a typical king boring.
Yeah. I think the thing with other Assassin's Creed game characters is that what surrounds the character, the story, is better than the character's arc.
Yeah.
Whereas it sounds like Shay is a lot more about him, and what makes him interesting is the things that he does and the reasons why he does what he does.
And he has very good reasons behind what he does. Since they did have to make him believably defect, you do understand exactly why he's doing it, and that makes it for a far more interesting experience, an interesting character, than someone who you're still halfway the game not entirely sure exactly why he's going on the way he is. Why didn't just like give up to be a goat farmer somewhere?
Naturally, I quit the assassins. I just became a goat farmer. You know. I
mean, Ezio quit to do a winery. It's not that much different.
That's true. All right. What do you have, Chris?
I'm gonna go with Shovel Knight from Shovel Knight.
What game is he from again?
It's a soundtrack called Shovel Knight.
Yeah, so one of the things.
Shovel.
Yeah, that is one of the things I loved about Shovel Knight. You know, because I do love how he is this kind of like character that takes his role very seriously as like this adventurer and knight, and the way he talks to dudes of like, you know, steel thyself for battle and everything. You know, like
it pretty much in that game.
Yeah. The writing and the dialogue is brilliant in that game, and I think one of my favorite moments was there's a dude who like collects hats, and then he all of a sudden wants Shovel Knight's helmet, and he's like, you know, I'm very happy with with my helmet, sir. As like, I do not feel like parting with it, and you know, and you end up fighting him for it, as well as like, you know, some of the, I mean, when he gets serious, you know, there's a good number of times when it's humorous in the writing. Like, I wish I could think of some of the more stuff that he said, but like the way. Man. Yeah, shovel justice. Oh man, that is best line of 2014, right there. But yeah, I thought he was written pretty well. Like when he needs to be serious, he's serious. Like I mean, he's always serious. But the game kind of, you know, when they want you to take it seriously, they do. But you can tell, like, here's where it's kind of funny that he's being all super heroic despite the fact he has a shovel, but he's really fucking good with that shovel.
I think it's also. He does not. Sorry, go on.
I mean, he does not take any shit from any of these other knights that are in his way, so...
I do think it's also interesting just considering the limitation they had of the, what is it, I guess 8-bit style graphics, whatever, and presentation. Well, it's a chosen limitation, I think. But I think it's interesting that they actually have some personality in a character with that limitation, because it's probably very hard to put personality into a character that's only rendered by pixels that you can count with no voice acting or anything.
Yeah, and, you know, just I mean, there's a lot that could be said about text only. You know,
Yeah.
considering that's what we got
Like
along
books.
with.
Fucking
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can kind of imagine what Shovel Knight sounds like. I imagine, you know, he sounds almost. I wouldn't be.
British.
I do think he sounds like fucking Captain Cork or something dumb like that.
Oh yeah. It's like
Dispense the shovel justice.
yes, that'd be awesome. Like I'd love it if you play Captain Cork. Just
Yeah,
like
good voice acting
Captain
for that.
Cork, but British.
Even better.
yeah, it'd be even better.
All right, I think that's good. The character I chose was B.J. Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Good pick.
Yeah, mostly because it's partly because of him and the story that he resides in, but it just, I think I discussed this on the podcast when I played it, but the game just blew me away in that it's a very arcadey game, but this character is extremely serious about everything. Like I like that he reminds me a lot of the character from Spec Ops: The Line, and that he's a character who has seen shit and doesn't let go of it. Like he understands that he's seen a lot of shit and that's never gonna leave him. He has
And for
nightmares
better or
about
worse, the
all the things he's
transition is
done.
very abrupt too.
Yeah. It's almost interesting.
You will
between that and
literally be
gameplay.
like having Nazi killing fun times, and then it'll cut to a super serious scene, almost in like a second.
What's funny
Yeah.
is that you can sometimes do that while he's having an internal monologue where he's talking about like the killing never stops. And, you know, part of that is they played a bit for laughs, but I really like the idea of I really like the idea of a shooter character who has a high body count but understands that he is killing so many people. Like it isn't just
Yeah.
I killed hundreds of guys. It's like I killed hundreds of people and I will never get over that.
Yeah,
I
it's,
think-
it's not like it's not like fucking.
In his defense, it shouldn't have been Nazis.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
it's just really interesting the way they write him, because they could have just gone really dumb meathead with him, but like he has real relationships and he has feelings for people that he doesn't know that well, and he tries to do the right thing. You know, it's a very interesting character. Like
Yeah.
it's, if anything, I'm kind of, the gameplay is just bizarre comparatively, but just since it's just the character alone for this award or whatever we're going to call it, I think he is the best 2014.
It's a totally valid option, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, kind of the whole exploration of like people actually put through like a video game scenario of having to kill like hundreds of people. It's like, yeah, that's going to be some PTSD, like
Yeah.
hardcore.
Like that's part of what the game is about. It's just
Yep.
him having to deal with this shit that he's seen.
So also for Garrett's choice,
Thank you.
he went with Pagan Min from Far Cry 4.
That's a very good choice as someone who's played Far Cry 4.
Yeah, Sam, I think you'd probably be the best one to explain this. Like,
Yeah.
He is a lot like Voss from Far Cry 3, but he has a bit more... He's a little less unhinged. You know, Brandon playing Far Cry 3 right now will understand what I mean by that, in that Voss is like he could just shoot himself at any moment. Pagan is like very, very controlling, but he knows exactly what he wants to do. He's written extremely well. He has a good personality and a good style about him. Like, you know, when you first meet him, he sits you down for dinner and like he's, you know, torturing
Does
some
it
dude.
seem almost like he's pretending to be crazy?
Almost.
does it
like,
seem
almost
almost like
he's
it's an
just
act?
trying to fuck with you in a way.
yeah,
Like he's
Yeah.
just trying to like spook you or something like that.
Yeah, like it's almost like an act.
Yeah, it's. I try my best not to spoil the end because they do reveal a bit more about his character in the last cutscene, like a big reveal. But as far as, you know, standard game, I wish he was used more in the game. You know, he only shows up in a few cutscenes, so when he does, he just steals the show, hands down. Best character in Far Cry 4. That's not saying much because the rest characters aren't great, but, you know, excellent performance by Troy Baker, really cool design, really cool personality. So I could totally see that as a valid pick. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah.
yep. Good choice, Garrett.
Yes, thank you, Garrett. All right, we're rolling right through these, aren't we? All right, most disappointing game of the year. Just to qualify this real quick, most disappointing for us basically just means that whatever expectation you had for it, even if it was low, it was the lowest expectation from where you thought it would be.
Ugh.
Okay.
So whether it was a good game that was bad or it was a bad game that turned out to be fucking horrendous, either way it can be most disappointing. So,
Okay, so my pick is Watch Dogs.
Okay. I see that.
And the reason is, like, and don't get me wrong, Watch Dogs is not a terrible game. It's a fine game. But I was kind of expecting this based on the first footage we got. This cool game where you spend most of the time hacking into things and using the phone primarily to get most of your stuff done.
Right.
And then we got this shooter.
It's a shooter. I think that's
I was
very,
I was
very
kind of hoping
valid
for like
criticism.
a more of a stealth game, and I got a third-person shooter
Something definitely more along the lines of using your
with
phone
this
to try
really
to
mediocre
avoid
car
combat.
segment, with a very very poor car segments attached to it.
There was one
So
cool
I
thing
was
with the
just-
cars, though, where you could hide in them, which I thought was a cool mechanic. That would
Never got used.
I used it once. Cool idea, just never used it because of the way this game worked. I do definitely get that, and in all honesty, I feel like the problem is that Ubisoft may have wanted it to be a game about hacking and stealth, but they probably just wanted to play it safe and just said it's a
Well,
shooter.
it's
shooters will
very
sell.
much the same way that Bioshock is finger quotes about objectivism. It's not really. It uses
Yeah.
objectivism in its game, but it's not about it at all.
Yeah. It is disappointing when you look back at that footage, and then the first time you see the shooting, it seems like shooting people is a big deal in that game. Like, they make the firefights seem really dramatic, and then you play it, it's like, yeah,
like
you
that
fight
was the
dudes.
thing about that footage is that I was like, oh man, this is gonna be awesome, and then he pulled out the gun, and like, I guess never mind.
I don't know, I still thought it was good during that initial trailer, just because it seemed like pulling a gun was like a last resort sort of thing. Like, it's like breaking stealth, and you have to fight people. But as it turns out, that's your default way of
And again,
dealing
this
with people.
is not to bash too hard on Watch Dogs, but that does deserve some bashing.
I think it's easily qualified as most disappointing, because most disappointing doesn't mean it's bad, it just means
Yeah.
disappointing.
I
to
mean,
expectations.
I was
with Ubisoft hyping it up as much as they were, like, oh, it's this great next-gen experience, but it's like,
Yeah.
this
And
is...
I wanted a
Why would
futuristic,
I
I want a cyberpunk game about hacking stuff.
It just violated my expectations too much.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's a very good, valid choice. What do you got, Chris?
I really just, like,
Did anything disappoint you?
oh
Were you
god.
just happy the whole year?
I would be shocked if there wasn't one game that you played this year that disappointed you.
Oh, something that I played?
Well, yeah.
Well,
That was the qualification. You had to play the game.
oh.
Figure this out
Sam-
on air.
Yeah, Sam, why don't you go ahead of me, because now
Okay.
I need to think on this again. Damn it.
Okay. This will not be surprising if you have listened to the past. It's either one or two podcasts ago. My most disappointing is Shadow of Mordor. Because the combat is pretty great.
This
The
is gonna
Nemesis
be
system
fun.
is really cool, although I do think it's a little more shallow than I expected. Environments suck. Story is fucking bullshit. Characters trash. Like, it's just, the thing is, when I saw the quick look for it and I saw the initial gameplay reveals and everybody hyping us like, it's gonna be this crazy action game with this crazy Nemesis system where you can turn people against each other and stuff, and it's like, maybe I just didn't play it right, but I barely ever used that. It was just, I killed dudes, and then when I could brand them, I only ever branded them. Like, I found it to be pretty shallow. So, disappointing in the sense
That's
that
a fair pick.
Yeah.
I accept that.
Because I know you've gone on record as saying before that once you finished it, you really felt like you had no incentive to go back to it again.
Yeah.
It was just
So, again, good game, but disappointing game.
like the Nemesis system was supposed to be like, here's what draws people back in, but it's just
I thought it was going to be like a game-changing thing for like the gaming landscape, but it just wasn't. So it was definitely a expectation sort of thing. I expected a lot from it.
So I think for mine, I will say, while I may not have had the highest hopes for it, it still kind of bummed me out a little bit, which was Borderlands the pre-sequel.
Actually, that's a bummer.
Yeah,
I can
like
see that.
it's
It's another Borderlands game.
well, and here's the thing, like, and I was expecting that. I didn't expect a whole lot of change between this and Borderlands 2, because Borderlands 2, between that game and the original, there were a lot of improvements that were made on that. Whereas, the pre-sequel, like, I kept my expectations in check. This is a different team, and they're not rebuilding the wheel here. But for me, I was happy enough of, oh, it's another Borderlands game, and pretty sure me and my friends are going to play it, which I have played this with some friends. And that's really where the most fun of it comes from. But man, like, being on the moon is like a double-edged sword. I love jumping around. That's
I
pretty
love the
cool.
moon.
But I mean, and the oxygen gauge, while I bitch about it, it does kind of feel like it's a non-entity at some point, to where it's like you're constantly getting oxygen from dudes you kill or from the various geysers. It's just, it does kind of make me feel like, why did we even need this at all then? Like they could have just said like, oh, you got a breathing thing, done. It's just.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because this just occurred to me like seconds ago. Is that you have the opposite problem though if you make it really important to have oxygen, where you have the Lost Planet 1 problem.
Yeah.
Which I actually liked that in Lost Planet 1, but many people hated the idea of you had to constantly keep yourself heated or else you would die.
Yep. That's all Lost Planet 1.
So it's also kind of a double-edged problem, where it's like either it becomes a non-issue or it's way too big of an issue and gets in the way of the game.
And there really is no middle ground there.
And the other thing is,
there's a balance, it's just near impossible to find.
I mean, and the other thing is, eventually you get off the moon, and then you're on Pandora, and then you miss the idea of not having the whole zero gravity jumping anymore. Like, it's like, and it feels like kind of a bummer after. It feels like kind of a bummer after you finally get to like normal ground again. It's like, can't do the ground stop no more. Which I thought the ground stop was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's just kind of taken away from you, and it's like, oh fuck. Like,
I have not played it, so you could be the one to say
I thought
this,
that whole
but
game
it
was on
almost seems
Pandora.
like it almost seems like the biggest problem with it is just an underwhelming game. It's just kind of like whatever.
And like I said, I kept my expectations in check with this, and I understood it was going in, but even still, I was kind of like, maybe it was the fact that this was just the same thing over again. Because, like I played a lot of Borderlands 2, and I enjoyed it.
Borderlands 2 is enough of a game that you don't want to repeat that, because there's a lot of content in that game.
Yeah, I mean,
make an expansion pack if you're going to do something that's similar to Borderlands 2. You might as well make a Borderlands 2 expansion at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that was the thing people said, is that pre-sequel could have just been an expansion on the moon. But it's like, yeah, you're on the moon.
It really could have.
Yeah, but they made it a full game.
But I mean, for what it's worth, it is a full game, and I probably will beat it eventually. It's just my interest in it has not been like, it's not been what it was with Borderlands 2. Just
so not largely disappointing, but kind of a bummer. That's fine. What did Garrett say for most disappointing?
Oh, so his. And originally, I almost would have said this myself, but his most disappointing is the Elder Scrolls Online.
Yep.
I forgot that came out this year.
Yep. You still have to pay for it every month.
Do you remember how it got eclipsed by freaking Goat Simulator?
Oh. So
yeah.
WildStar was even bigger than Elder Scrolls Online.
They came out. It came out on the same day as Goat Simulator, and Goat Simulator completely eclipsed
And
it.
WildStar, for what that was worth, that game didn't really seem to. That felt like kind of a flash in the pan after a while.
Yep. I followed some people who showed some later level content, and I was like, I just don't care.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pick it up and try it again, but I just don't care. I like Final Fantasy 14 better.
Elder Scrolls Online, like that. I still remember that bullshit of you got to pre-order to get the
fucking Imperial race, like one of the races of the game that probably most people in Elder Scrolls play. I bet
the humans.
The human.
You need to pay to play as just the standard generic human.
Yeah, like holy shit! Like
it's usually the other way around.
Like, and the thing, like. And to speak for Garrett, I think the thing that makes this game feel so disappointing and so gross is the fact that Bethesda has been a company that they've delivered very well in their games, despite a lot of the stuff going on in the AAA market. They'll release stuff. It's like, the AAA market says multiplayer is the way to go, but Bethesda says, fuck multiplayer. We're going to make a single player only game.
It seems so rote and textbook.
Yeah, and then
Elder Scrolls the microtransactions, the monthly subscription service. There's only 4 MMOs I can think of that still do that. Final Fantasy 14, WildStar, Elder Scrolls. WildStar will be free to play soon, I guarantee it. Elder Scrolls probably take longer than that, and then WoW. Like, it's just not a thing you do anymore, because it's not worth it unless you're constantly throwing in content.
Like, unless you if you wrote a textbook that was titled Ways to Milk Whales in Free-to-Play Games, every point that would be in that textbook was in the Elder Scrolls Online in some aspect.
Yeah, it's pretty gross when you think about it. Which is a shame, because, there was I can definitely see why this is most disappointing, just in the sense that there was this idea when they first announced it of like, dude, Elder Scrolls, but online. Like, everybody's like, oh, dude, you know, you get the first-person combat, and you get all the spells and all the exploring you can do with people, but then it's like, oh, wait. I think part of the problem is that when I first thought about it, I didn't think about MMOs, and that, like, exploring would become a non-thing.
Well, yeah,
because
like, if it had, like, if it's like an Elder Scrolls game with drop-in, drop-out co-op, that's one thing.
Yeah. It just, the biggest disappointing is that it's just a slightly average MMO. It's not up to the Elder Scrolls name.
No. So yeah, very, very good choice there, Garrett.
Yeah. Alright. And slightly similar, well, slightly related.
Kind of like the opposite.
Yeah, related in a diametric way. Opposing way. Whatever. I'm bad with words tonight. Whatever. Most underrated game. And in this case, underrated basically meaning that people said it was terrible or not good, or basically it was better than you thought it would be. You know. So,
okay.
Quite the opposite of most disappointing.
I'm going to go first. I'm going to say Shadow of Mordor.
So you had low expectations for that game.
I had no expectations for that game.
Well, it's definitely better than no expectations.
Because when I had first heard about it, like legitimately when I first heard about it, my impressions were, oh, it's Lord of the Rings game, I can safely ignore this.
This is actually very interesting to me.
But then I looked a little bit into it when it came out, and I had a lot of friends that said it was not terrible.
But
so yeah, I played it, and it's not terrible. It's actually not bad.
I think that's interesting because the people that I saw were like, it's the fucking game of the year 2014 and all that. So I think that's the difference. Is that your friends were like, it's fine.
I had saw the initial footage. I'm like, this is going to be the most disappointingly shitty, mediocre Little Rings game I've seen in my life. But it turned out to not be that bad.
So defied your expectations pretty well.
Because I didn't think I was going to like it at all. Because I hate Lord of the Rings.
That is very interesting to me, how expectations are different for us. Just because you had different people telling you
the story is completely shit, but I kind of expected that.
That too. I did not expect that.
I was surprised how good the Nemesis system ended up working out, and I wrote an article about that the other day if you want to take a look.
Yes. We will link it. I think that's pretty interesting. You had a completely different opinion than I did.
So yeah, because that's when you said Shadow of Mordor, I kind of just chuckled. I knew it was coming, but I chuckled anyway.
Yeah, I think anybody who's listened to the podcast knew I was going to say that, because I'm pretty sure I said the words Shadow of Mordor's most disappointing game last time.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't too surprising for me either.
I think it's interesting, though, that we can both make a case for it being pretty good and pretty bad at the same
time. A runner-up.
Yeah, I mean, you've had like I said, I saw reviews for this, and it's like a lot of people were just kind of mixed on it. So it's like I have some people telling me it's like it's Assassin's Creed with fucking Lord of the Rings paint, skip this game, and then I have another website saying this is Assassin's Creed, Lord of the Rings, fucking yes, like really, like
yeah.
Like the thing is that when someone asked me when I posted an article today about Shadows of Mordor. Someone asked me, "Do you think the NEM system is worth paying paying for the game?" I was like, "You know what? It's worth waiting until it's half off on wherever sale you get it at."
Yeah, $30. I think
it's totally worth $30 at least.
Yeah, even for that and the combat, like combat's fun.
Because there's a lot that the system could be used for, and I look forward to seeing other applications of it.
Yeah, I just think that's very interesting. How it kind of speaks a lot to the spheres of. You know how we gather information separately. That
I have a
runner-up,
but sure. I want to save that in case one of you guys choose it. Okay. So I'll wait till you guys finish, then I'll see if I want. We were talking about runner-up.
And check Garrett as well to make sure he didn't say that.
He didn't.
Okay. All right. What'd you say, Chris?
Wait a minute. What's this category again?
Underrated.
Oh,
a
underrated?
game that people thought was shit, but you thought was good.
You know what? And this is probably going to sound a little bit weird, and a lot of this is probably from my own personal experience.
Dead Space 3 is not an acceptable answer.
Wow, really?
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Not an acceptable answer.
Thankfully, that's not what I was going to say.
That's good.
Because I'm still not gonna defend that game. Because if I would have said that, that would almost be me saying like, oh yeah, it's worth more than the $10 I paid for it. No. But um. So in my opinion, and like I said, I'm sure there were people that were probably hyped for it to begin with. Me personally, I didn't really have any. I was really kind of ambivalent toward it, and I didn't really care. And then once I got to spend time with it, I was like, you know what, this is kind of cool. I might keep this on here. I might like this. And that is Hearthstone: Heroes of Warcraft, the Blizzard's free-to-play trading card game. I mean, like I said, this was something that, you know, I mean, it's a free game, so obviously didn't no barrier to entry really. And it was something to where, like, you know, the rules are simple enough that it's really easy to get into, because a lot of trading card games kind of have that reputation of just having this high barrier to entry. And Hearthstone just felt really, really simple. And, like, the matches go by quick and it's easy. Like, and I did, like, the first couple of times I played it, I did find myself in that whole groove of, all right, one more game. You know, it just...
that's the bad thing. You don't want that. Then you'll grow a whole beard and you haven't gone to work in 3 weeks.
like I really did like unlocking the various character decks they have, and you know, in Blizzard they've been doing a good job of supporting this one with some more material, and you know, they give out free packs and, you know, it's promotional stuff that I think is pretty cool. And you know, this might be just maybe me in support of weird ass marketing, but like when I bought StarCraft 2, it came with like a thing for more Hearthstone packs. It's like, sure, why not?
Oh, yeah, Blizzard's getting into that. It's like, you buy this game and you get cards.
Get this game trading cards.
Cards.
Like, blasted a bunch of money into it. No, thank God, no. But it's still something that I felt.
Sale.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's on pretty much every fucking device now. You can get it on Android, even like in iOS. But I'm playing on PC.
A lot of people say they like it on iPad. It's, you know.
It seems really suitable for it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's, you know, for something that I pretty much did not care for and thought and would have laughed at, this would actually turn out to be something I kind of ended up getting into a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. Anything else?
I'm trying to look at what Garrett's is.
Oh,
it was Transistor.
Yes. So Garrett's pick for for underrated is Transistor.
Yes, and in his case, because critically, this game was very well received, but his explanation was that he has like no friends who have actually played it,
which is weird.
So and it was well received, but when you compared it to Bastion, people did not like it as nearly as much as they did Bastion.
I think also I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of people who played Bastion and didn't play Transistor for one reason or another. Like, it didn't seem like nearly as widespread, even though it's critically just as popular.
Yeah. I mean, we had been, you know, and we talked earlier about the presentation in the game, but I mean, it also does a good amount of genius stuff that kind of separates it from Bastion in a good way.
And you have to really, like, look.
I really like the combat.
It's a game you have to really, like, play a couple times to really understand what's going on.
Yeah, like the story and the way everything is set up, like it's all very cryptic, but in a good way.
Yeah. It's a cool game. Alright. My most underrated, this might or might not come to a surprise to you guys, is Titanfall. Because, man, people did not like Titanfall.
Well, it's not like they didn't like it, more like they just ignored it after a while.
Yeah. I say didn't like it in the sense that a lot of people just gave it middling stuff. Like, it's a cool concept, I'll just wait for Titanfall 2. Like, that was the general consensus. Not enough content, don't bother. I've played over 80 hours of that game.
Yeah, it's...
I really like Titanfall.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just it kind of just got swept up.
Yeah, I would argue that it might be my favorite shooter of this year. And that's saying a lot.
Bold statement.
Yeah, I know, right? But I really like it just because I really like the movement system. I could have thought there could have been more weapons, but I also kind of like the idea of just the single assault rifle. There are 2 SMGs, like a long and short. It's the one shotgun, the one LMG. Kind of, it almost reminded me of like old Unreal games or something like that, where it's like these weapons are just the one weapon. There's not like, oh, this one does a little more damage, but has less range. Because Battlefield has the opposite problem, where there's way too many of every gun, and it just, like, I have no fucking idea what to do with any of it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the simplicity of Titanfall. It's almost arena-like, especially with that, the movement, the Titans, and it's all extremely well balanced.
The movement stuff is probably what intrigued me more about that game than, like,
Yeah.
despite the fact that I'm a guy who loves robots in any fashion in any game. The movement, like the robots were kind of secondary to me. Like,
yeah, just moving around is just super fun in that game.
Yeah. If anything, like the Titans, I kind of feel like they're just, here's this buddy that will follow you around, basically, and because
robotic operating buddy.
Pretty much every time I drop him, it's just go into Auto Titan, and while I go do stuff, just, and then he's getting kills for me.
So, well, I do think the game could have used, more guns and a campaign and such. I'm kind of bummed that a lot of people just wrote it off and said wait for the sequel, because I think I think when it was big and people were playing it, it was a game worth playing. Like, it was just awesome every match.
And they did recently add the co-op, like, wave-based survival mode, which I think is actually kind of interesting from the time I spent with it.
Yeah,
so.
They added it as a free update for people.
Mm-hmm.
So Titanfall, I think it was... The sad part is I really want to recommend it, but at this point, it's like, unless it's dirt cheap, because there's a chance that you might not find matches. So, I just definitely think that was most underrated in terms of when it was big. I think it was fucking incredible.
Now, I mentioned earlier that I had a runner-up for this category. And since now you mentioned it, I might as well say, and hear me out on this one. Hear me out on this one. Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah, that's my secondary pick.
Yeah, that was my runner-up.
Yeah, that's mine too. Because, man, people didn't like Unity.
They did not like it at all, and I totally
think they had reason not to like it.
I understand why they didn't like it, but there was...
It's fucking gross.
But if you get past all the gross shit, there is still a lot
there's
to
a diamond
like
in there, and it's called the assassination missions.
And I like the character customization too.
Yes.
That was also really good.
The thing is that I've said this before, but I think that just through the wave of microtransactions and technical mess, people didn't realize or just didn't care to think that Assassin's Creed is actually one of the best designed AC games out there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't quite say the best, but like the character session is really great because it caters to like...
But better than the last couple.
Because the thing about the character customization, I don't think I said before that I really like about it, is that if you want to go super stealthy, Assassin's Creed 1 style, never get seen, you can build that character. And you can have like special, quick to blend, you can get the disguise power up. Although if you want to play like AC4 and it's like, I just want to have a fucking
If you want to be a brick, you can be a brick.
Yeah, you can have a heavy weapon with full armor and bonus health, and you can make it so that you don't
do what you want because a pirate is free. You're a fucking pirate.
Or if you want to be a halfway house between those two, that's also fine.
Yeah. Like, I just finished it last night, actually, and I fell in love with that game. I don't think it's perfect, but... It is unquestionably
no, it's not perfect.
Yeah,
but
I think it's done some of
I
think it's done some of the single best design decisions Ubisoft has made with that series.
And I feel like in this particular category, it's at least worth pointing out.
Yes,
as an honorable mention.
I really hope that Ubisoft carries over the assassination mission style with future games. Because with 4, it just got to a point where it's like, I don't know, just fight 20 guys and kill a dude. With this one, it's like you can get in and get out without ever being seen. And it is incredible. I love it.
And it does make those assassination missions worth replaying.
Yes, it's very, very cool. So I would definitely agree with you on that. Alright, and we said Garrett's correctly? Yes. So next one is biggest surprise. Wait, did we do that?
No.
Most disappointing, sorry. Biggest surprise, basically just no expectations or whatever. So somewhat similar to underrated, except it was just, something you did not expect. I qualify this as just kind of like came out of nowhere, blew your fucking mind sort of thing. Would you like to go, Brandon?
The only thing that comes to mind when I think of this is The Walking Dead Season 2.
Really?
And the reason I say that is because, I expected a little bit better of a game than I got. Like, the last half of that season is so mediocre, so average, that it feels like this is the guys that made the first season of The Walking Dead? Really? It's hard to say anything more without spoiling that game, because I know neither of you have played it yet.
It almost seems like you're surprised about this in a bad way. Like you're.
Yeah.
It blew
On the
his
other
fucking
hand,
mind.
though,
All over the floor.
Wolf
He hated
Among
it.
Us surprised me in the other way.
That's fair.
Whereas I did not expect anything from Wolf Among Us. I thought I was just gonna like pass that one by.
That was my runner-up pick because I
But
had no expectations. I avoided that game like the plague forever.
but it's really good.
It's
Like
really,
it's
really
not
good.
perfect. There are flaws there, but it's really good, and it was probably the best Telltale game yet. Aside from Tales of War, which I haven't played yet, so I can't comment on.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made that's better than Walking Dead Season 1. There's certainly some aspects of it that are just awesome. Especially the world. The world that they live in is awesome.
Awesomely terrible in a good way.
Yes, like it's very fucked up, the world they live in. Which is
Yeah.
great. I like that. I like dark twin stuff. Alright, I'll take both of those. What do you got, Chris?
Uh,
You can have a both best, good, and bad surprise like Brandon, one or the other, doesn't matter.
I guess I will say Dragon Age Inquisition mostly because I've gone on record as saying how much I was just fucking severely disappointed by Dragon Age 2 and just how it almost just made me want to give up on that fucking series, as well as like EA as a publisher. And well, I mean, I didn't have much faith in them anyway, but like BioWare as a name kind of just meant nothing to me anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
BioWare's name got really trashed these past few years.
After Mass Effect 3, after Dragon Age 2, I was like, man, fuck all this. And
Weren't
Dragon
also
Age,
the Old Republic? Was that
Oh
BioWare?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Yeah, their name got
Yep.
dragged right through the dirt, man.
so obviously I had I didn't really care to have any intention or anything to do with Inquisition, especially when they were talking about like, oh, it's gonna have multiplayer. Like, great,
Ooh.
because that's what you needed. That's what you needed. But
And here
to
we are.
my surprise, here we are. You know, you've had a lot of good things to say about it.
Oh, I
I've
love
read a
that
lot
game.
of good. I've read a lot of good reviews about it, and granted, I read fucking good reviews about Dragon Age 2, but
I like Dragon Age too.
but I digress. I will say that, you know, while I haven't played it at the time of this recording, it is sitting under my Christmas tree. So
It's waiting.
that was something, you know, I actively asked for and said, yes, I want this game so I could play it. So I'll be able to play that on PC when I finally unwrap it.
I'd be really curious to play multiplayer with you.
Yeah,
And then talk about it
try
afterwards. I've heard good things. Like anything just ranging from it's fine to it's actually pretty awesome.
Like
I've
the
not heard
fact
bad things about it.
like the fact that the multiplayer and the single player modes are just entirely disconnected from each other.
Yes.
It's not this stupid
There's
bullshit.
no fucking like Inquisition readiness program.
Yes.
100% readiness, or else you're gonna get the bad end. God,
Yeah.
so
So
fucking,
dumb.
that was the worst.
Yeah, like they made some smart choices with it. Granted, I've heard some people say that there's some gross stuff about it, but I'm not going to get into it. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised to see that Dragon Age Inquisition turned out as good as it did. So,
It's also just hella full of content. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I played maybe 15 hours, and I just got past the prologue. Like, to the new, like, main base. So, yeah, it's a long game. There's a lot going on. Yeah, that's good. I'll get mine real quick, and I'll get Garrett's. My big surprise is a game that won another award, and my big surprise is Wolfenstein: The New Order. For basically the reasons I already stated. Gameplay was fine, but, you know, again, it was very much the Spec Ops: The Line style story of just like, no, you're, like, shooting people is not the greatest thing ever. Like, I don't think I can overstate enough how much I love that kind of introspective look at what it means to do certain things in video games. So, for the same reasons I said before, Wolfenstein New Order, definitely big surprise, because Wolfenstein, the name, means fucking nothing to me. Like,
yeah.
I played 3D, like, once before. I never played the new reboot that came out, which is a sequel to that, actually. Believe it or
Yeah,
not.
although no one seems to have liked that reboot at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I mean, I own it, and I don't think that reboot is bad. I just think it was kind of mediocre.
Yeah. So, when that came out, and I remember it coming out, it was like $60, and I was like, no way. And then, like, of all people, I saw Dave Lang tweeting about it, and he was like, dude, Wolfenstein New Order is fucking Game of the Year 2014. I was like, what? Really?
Like, and the thing is, like, and like you had said, the name Wolfenstein kind of meant nothing to you. I would almost say the same thing, considering that, this is considering the fact that I am somebody that was, around when that game was coming out as shareware and everything, and just
Yeah.
have my mind blown as a kid. Fuck you for suggesting I play Super Nintendo versions of that game. I have it on PC, and it's yeah, even back
PC
then.
elites.
Yep.
They never.
Super Nintendo versions. Wow.
Yeah, but over time, like and I did like later iterations, like the not the latest not the Wolfenstein game that came out before, but Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Right.
Like that game. I remember playing.
Great.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking great. So but like I said, the new Wolfenstein that came out before New Order, like yeah, I had played around with it and it wasn't really holding my attention. So the Wolfenstein, like if they were making another Wolfenstein game, I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And the hearing some of the shit about that, like yeah, it's kind of a surprise to me as well. But
Yeah, it's funny now. I was just thinking about it. Is that it kind of ran the same course as Spec Ops, so they both started out as really great franchises that just got run into the ground and sort of just fell apart, and then they just all of a sudden came back with this new thing that's just mind blowing. So easily earns my big surprise for that. Just that I expect nothing. And then I bought for $30. I didn't know anything about the story or any of that. Like nobody told me about it. I just remember first playing it, and I was like, yeah, it's like an arcadey shooter or whatever. And then the whole comatose thing, and then after that, where BJ's basically suffering through massive PTSD, and I was like, whoa, this is like dark and there's
Plus
really
brain
good
damage. Literal
Yeah.
brain damage.
and like that, and the characters are very well done, and just it's really cool. It's it's almost like it's almost like the name Wolfenstein is undeserving of this story. It's so weird to think about.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So real quick, what was Garrett's? Garrett's was Alien Isolation, and he stated because of Colonial Marines' reputation, which I think is fair. The
Yeah.
just like with Dragon Age and with Wolfenstein, the name kind of got less so with Wolfenstein, but like the game kind of name itself kind of fell apart, and then
Like,
also just made a huge comeback.
yeah, like I will admit, I kind of felt like Alien Isolation was the apology to people. Like here's the apology game. Like, look, we're sorry that Colonial Marines turned out as shitty as it did. Here's a good game, and yeah, and it did turn out very well. And while I haven't played it myself, I can totally agree that it is something I'm interested in playing now.
Yeah, I've played it a bit, and I do plan to finish it at some point. I think I say on the podcast, it was a couple weeks ago, that I was pretty much giving up on it, but now that I keep reading all this new stuff about it, and I'm reading some more stuff about the story and such, I think I will pick it back up.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting game, and I think it's cool. Like, Alien deserves a good game. There's a lot of
Yes.
Aliens games, but not many Alien games.
Yeah, because usually when people think of Aliens, it's always Alien as a franchise in general, it's always the Space Marine gun-toting stuff.
It's the energy rifles and
Yep.
tons of aliens and facehuggers and shit.
Get away from her, you bitch. And it's
Game over, man.
Yeah, like
Game over.
a lot of people easily forget like what the original film was like and how that kind of set
sci-fi
something.
slasher film that was
Yeah,
It's great. Fucking Alien's awesome. And we've come to it, guys. I'm not ready.
Did we?
Yeah, that was it. We got one more
okay.
left.
Oh
Our
man.
game of the year and the century and the decade all in one.
Persona 3
Of 2014.
Fez Edition.
It's the best game ever this year.
This year. I had a really, really tough time choosing, and I'm not entirely sure I'm confident in my choices, but I'll go with what I got. Are you ready, Brandon, for your game of the year
No, give me some more
2014?
time. You go first.
Chris, are you ready for your game of the year 2014? Or do I need to go first?
Get back to me next year.
Fine, I'll go. I had a hard time deciding. I'm not 100% confident in this, which is kind of a shame because I want to be. But I'm going to go with Dark Souls 2 as my 2014 year.
You're not 100% confident in that? Seriously?
Because the more I play Dark Souls, now that I've played 140 hours, I don't think it's the greatest game ever. And it may not be the greatest game this year, but damn if I didn't enjoy every minute of it. So,
You are not saying that Dark Souls isn't the best game right now. That's not what I'm hearing from your mouth. You, of all people, have no right to say that.
to say that Dark Souls is good?
Say it's bad.
Oh. because I played 140 hours of it.
Yeah,
put into that. If you dare say it's anywhere anything resembling bad,
anything less than it is the second coming of video games.
The fact that you played that game again and again after losing your save file multiple fucking times.
Yes, twice. And then I beat it 4 times now.
You no longer have a right to
3 times with the same build. Yeah, I've beaten it 3 times with a strength build because of lost save files, and I beat it once with a hex character, which was the one I beat every boss with. So yeah, it's like, it's the sense of like, I don't think it's the bestly designed or best presentation or anything like that, but just, I played the hell out of that game, and I never got tired of it. I still want to go back and play it. The only reason I'm not is because the new edition is coming out. Otherwise, I'd be playing the DLC right now, which means I'd have to start over again. So I'm waiting for the new version to come out, so I can play the DLC on that.
That is both awesome and sad at the same time.
Dark Souls is the worst thing that's ever happened
to me. The fact that
a
new Dark Souls is coming out is why you are not feeding your addiction right now.
Yes.
It is an addiction. Let's not mince words.
It's true. No sane person would play through that game that many times after losing their progress.
No, you clearly have a problem.
But it's a good game. I don't think it's as well designed as the first one, but I think there's a lot to be said for, you know, the really cool story that it tells and the DLC and cool maps, weapons, characters, you know. It's a game worth playing. And maybe Dragon's Inquisition could have been my game of the year, but I have barely even scratched it. And Titanfall just didn't have enough going on for me to qualify it. So, yeah, Dark Souls 2. I like that game a lot, as you probably know.
Yeah.
So, either you ready, or should I read off Garrett's while you guys think for a bit?
You read off Garrett's.
Okay.
Now.
Let's see. His surprised the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Garrett's game of the year was The Evil Within, the Shinji Mikami horror game. And he said, had a wonderful story and really brought the survival horror series back to the formula that originally made it a hit. I think it's pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where he's coming from with that, considering, like, Evil Within was really something that kind of had, you know, a mixed reaction, you know, from critics especially. I mean, there were some people that, you know, were kind of on the fence about it. I don't think there was anybody, like, outright hating it. I think it was just, you know, and obviously it got overlooked a bit because everybody was saying, like, you know, there was so much hype for it. It was like, yeah, this is fucking bringing it back. And
I think it's that people expected Resident Evil 4 again. They expected a game changer from the guy who made RE4.
Yeah. And while this might not be it, you know, it's not a terrible game either.
Yeah.
And when it comes to and when it comes to survival horror, it really trying to make a game that is truly scary is something that is more difficult, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you decided, Sharky? If not, I'll just go.
I have.
All right, you go first then.
And this might be a little weird since I hadn't really mentioned it in any of the previous awards, but I'm gonna say Hyrule Warriors for Wii U.
Ooh, that's a good.
Because I
played a lot of that game.
You of all people know why the fuck I say that, because and you know, before this, the only game like Dynasty Warriors that I'd ever played was Fist of the North Star: Ken's Rage, which was another game I ended up enjoying, despite the fact that, you know, there are a lot of people that would say a lot of shit about that game, but I still really liked it. And while I have more of an affinity for Legend of Zelda, not, you know, so much the recent games, because I kind of agree with the general consensus that Skyward Sword was bunk.
Oh, I thought you said racing games, and I was like, what?
What? No.
The racing games.
You know, the consensus.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this game does kind of play to Skyward Sword, you know, fan service.
It's got fee.
Yeah, but, you know,
it kind of fan services everybody. It's got the moon from Majora's Mask.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there even is some stuff in there if you were, you know, like me and you're old and you played a lot of the 8-bit and 16-bit games, and it's fucking
like the
fantastic.
secrets you can unlock in adventure mode with the near identical map to the first game.
Oh man, yeah,
game has boundless content, and for some, like, what blew me away, which, you know, we've probably both said on the podcast before, is that for all the content that's in there, it's, for at least the longest time, and technically even now, it hasn't gotten boring to me. I can still go back and play that. Be like, yeah, I'm still having fun playing Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
After like 50 hours. It's like, I don't know why, it just doesn't get boring.
like, um, yeah, the fact that, a lot of people would say, like, oh, Dynasty Warrior games are repetitive. You're just hitting the same button. Da, da, da. Like, there are a lot of different combos and everything the more you play it. And the fact that not only did I enjoy beating up tons and tons of dudes over and over again and never got old.
Well, Dynasty Warriors regularly gets guilty pleasure awards. Because it's a kind of thing that you might not want to admit that you like. But we on some level, we like them.
I think they can get repetitive, but Hyrule Warriors and Dynasty Warriors both have really good surrounding systems. When it comes to like leveling up, you get new equipment. Hyrule Warriors has the adventure mode, which I think the challenges do a lot to make the combat interesting, because the combat basically is just like, I'm doing the combat so I can complete this challenge, which I think is cool. Which, it's like fight like level 9 3 bosses at the same time. It's like, yeah, fucking let's do this. Yeah.
Like, I mean, because after a while, your characters level up, and they do just get insane. It is ridiculous how powerful they get, and like how easily you could, like, some bosses that you struggled with at first, and then you get them up to like fucking level 80, and then you're just wrecking their shit. It is amazing.
It's fun.
Like, and in the DLC, which
great DLC. That's fun.
Like, I mean, in the first pack, while it wasn't as great, second pack has been fucking fantastic with like Twilight Midna and some of the weapons that they've added in the costumes. It is an amazing game. Like, I just love the constant, carrot hanging on a string that's kind of constantly dangling down in front of you. But at the same time, it is very fun and it's rewarding. And it's like, despite as many hours that I've put into that game, I still want to keep putting more into it. Like,
I think it's a very good pick up and play game in between other stuff, and just it's probably one of the most, single word fun games I've ever played this year. Like, there are a lot of games that like made me, feel some emotion or something like that, or like games that made me think, but it was very nice to just play Hyrule Warriors. Like, this is just fun. It's just a video game as a video game that's just fun.
Alright, so my choice, and I am going to qualify this one.
Oh, that's always good.
I'm going to choose Shadowrun Dragonfall. Ooh. Because it became out as a standalone this year.
Right. I think it's its own thing. It's basically, it's Shadowrun Returns, but it's a whole new campaign and all that. It's like a pseudo-sequel standalone.
And it's standalone, at least as a standalone this year. You don't need the original game to play it anymore.
I really, really wish I'd played that game before this.
Oh my god, Dragonfall is...
Like, I remember you were tweeting people at some point that were just like, Dragonfall is the sickest shit.
Like, I know that... a lot of people don't know about Shadowrun Returns. It's one of the best classic RPGs I've played, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of the best RPGs that I've played, and yet nobody talks about it.
And Dragonfall is just so much better than the already good campaign that was in the base game.
No alien bugs?
Yeah, the alien bugs at the end of the game were annoying as fuck.
Yeah, the end of that game really
And
faltered.
just the fact that they're not there is a vast improvement, but Dragonfall also added the ability to save in the middle of combat, which is another really big game changer. It's such a good game, and I can't really talk about it in like 5 minutes.
We'll give you 30.
It's just man, like everything, like it gets rid of all the tedious bullshit that a lot of the old CRPGs had. Like, the inventory management is simplified, but not overly simplified. The classes are all nice. The development system is great. Just a good solid RPG.
I mean, comparing this to Wasteland 2, which was yet another kind of fondly remembered old RPG somewhat franchise that made a comeback this year thanks to, Kickstarter. So
yeah,
which, and Wasteland
I haven't played that, so I can't really judge it.
I mean, from what I can say, like, it is a lot more complicated and a lot very complex, which is what people wanted.
Yeah.
But there's something to be had with like something simplistic, especially since like Shadowrun is an RPG. A lot of people, I think, most fondly remember the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo game the most.
A lot of people are of the philosophy that I like those old RPGs, warts and all, and I'm of the philosophy of like, yeah, I like them too, but get rid of those warts if you can.
Baldur's Gate.
I don't need them. I'm not going to use those warts. I don't like I have any like potions brewing in my house. I don't need those warts. You can just take them and leave them. You know,
Yes.
like if you can improve something, why don't you? Don't say like I want the bad stuff because I like that part too. Like no, you acknowledge it's bad. Get rid of it.
Fucking change it. All right. I think it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
We did get one category,
We did.
which is Brandon's favorite SMT games out of all the SMT games he's played this year.
We forgot. That's the best one. All right. It doesn't matter what year the game came out. It was the best. I think we said best Atlas game, but I think we should say best SMT because you played enough of those to qualify.
Well, we could just do general Atlas game fine because the choice is still down to the same two.
It's still just the same games anyway.
Because I have narrowed it down to either Persona 4 the Golden or SMT 4.
Well,
and the reason is, once you can choose the inherited skills, you will never, ever, ever want to go back.
Well, I guess I'll say Persona 4 the Golden simply because you didn't want to play Dance All Night, you fucker.
I'm gonna buy a copy of Dancing All Night. It's gonna happen.
Oh man, I want to play that.
I hope it's like.
So
I'm probably gonna
side more in the favor of SMT4 because I do like the press turn system a lot, and while Golden is a great game, do not get me wrong, SMT4 did a lot of good for the for just in general Atlas RPG design.
All right.
So Sam, what was your favorite game that SMT game that Brandon played this year?
Oh, I'm trying to remember out of all the.
Have the right
ones.
wrong, just so you know.
I can't remember the earlier part of this year, man. I remember you playing. Is it Devil Survivor? I can't. No, that's the DS one. Shit.
Devil Summoner?
Maybe. What was the one where you basically become God?
Oh,
you talk to God or you kill God?
Oh, you mean like all the SMT games?
No, Digital Devil Saga.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was okay. Like my memory is
Nocturne
so shit.
also, but
my memory is so complete shit that I don't remember any of them.
He just described literally all the SMT games in one fell swoop. You become God.
Yep. Alright. Before we get off on the tangents, I think we're gonna cut this. Be nice and clean.
That's enough. That's enough bullshit.
So we hope you guys enjoyed the slight deviation from our normal stuff, talking about games we really liked.
The first annual Texture Pop Video Game Awards.
Yeah, just do it again next year. It's pretty.
And if there are some that you agree with more so, let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
there's a comment section.
There's something to disagree with. Tell us that as well.
You can post comments in.
If you'd like to comment with your nominations for any of these awards, please do so. I might look at them and respond at how wrong you are. Alright. Well, until next time, guys. We will see you later.
Later.
Later, taters.